something.
The pace when I'm running, I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm
You have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky?
Good evening. How are you all doing tonight? We apologize for the technical difficulties, the delay. Sometimes, simply put, shit just happens, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and you gotta roll with the punches. So either way, though, it's okay. It's all good. We already have a lot of you here in the chat. Thank you, by the way, for being here. I do greatly, hugely, bigly appreciate it. So thank you guys very, very much. So let's acknowledge some faces here in our ever so toxic chat. How's it going, Lord Thoth? The Alexander. Great name. Welcome to Toxic Tuesday. Davina Duckworth. Twain Nagayan. Kevin Teal, Kevin Man, Che. Mr. Zenit, 1994. How's it going, sir? Thank you. Jonathan Conroy. Oh, by Crom. Conan. Das Wolfen. How's it going? D. Bud Martin. Action Cam. And over on the Rumble side, His Excellency Donald Trump. And D. Bud is there too. And yes, guys, once again, we are dual streaming to Rumble. So this is your cue that, once again, second, like, probably around hour 15, hour 20. This will go all Rumble exclusive. What's up, Toxic Dust 13? How you doing? Duran. That was for last week's movie, actually. So, but hey, it's all good. Paul Listro, how's it going, Paul? Thank you for dropping in here. Guys, in the chat is the link to Rumble. That is where it's at. So that way you can dual stream. And once we're exclusive there, later on, it's gonna be fun because we can go all in with the clips. So we'll start off with our dudes here. We'll start off with Mr. Mark D with a C. How you doing?
Doing very good, very good. Hail to everyone. Made it. And so I'm all set for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles tonight. So just kidding. I'm a total boomer, but no, I figured it out in time, but sometimes I don't pay attention. So I was all set for Planes and Trains. And Tom was on my show Sunday, and I was saying before the chat, and like, yeah, we're doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles this week, right? You know, so you always got to watch out for me. But yeah, I had my screen set up, ready to go and everything, and I'm like, oh, like
you
it's
almost pulled the Man with the Golden Gun Part 2.
I did, yeah. So I do. I was actually done with the slideshow like 20 minutes before the show started.
You're set for a week from now, so this will be the earliest one you will have accomplished.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So let's switch to something a little bit more appropriate for tonight. But yeah, but yeah, you never know, right? There we go. The two lovelies in this movie.
Bad would disagree. There's only one lovely.
There's only one lovely. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yep.
Ain't gonna have that, Mark. You gotta
Yeah.
understand he's just not gonna have that.
Just not gonna have it. Yep. Yep.
But
But classic. I love Dalton as, but he's not my lovely, but the other two ladies are. But no offense, Timothy. But no, but yeah, I just wish we said last week. I wish you got more movies. But there's some toxic scenes in this movie. I mean, gee. I mean,
oh yes,
look at
there's
the look that
Sylvia toxic.
the sailor gives, when she says, I'm the pilot, and he looks at her like, you're a lady, you can't drive the boat.
Oh,
Classic, yeah.
yeah. There's the early hintings of the world slowly PCizing as they hint at it.
Yeah.
Luckily, they don't delve in, but you can see the hints there. So yeah,
Well, it was
we'll get
starting
into it.
Yeah,
There's
we'll
a
get
lot
into it,
of
but it was starting back then.
yeah. There's like last week's movie, and that's something to be said about the two Dalton movies. There's a lot about this movie around it as much as there is of the movie itself. And I feel like both conversations are going to be very beneficial. So
Yep.
let's bring in our other dude, Mr. Red Shirt here. We've been doing this all bonding, all bonding,
We've been bonding, yeah.
all this fall between us three. We've been the consistents. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We're balding and bonding for Bond Month.
Get bonded.
Now all we need is that 70s rock fan.
Oh, dude, I know, right? I miss our 70s rock fan. I wish he was here with us. He'll be back next week. I know you won't be around, but he'll be back. So we'll trade up, and then we'll all be together for Bad Santa to close out 2024.
Yes. Yeah, this is an interesting one because I realized as I was watching it today that I'm pretty sure I've never seen this one. Oh yeah,
Crazy.
Oh, that's part of the reason I'm pretty sure I've never seen this one. Right there.
Instant toxicity. And let's see if our guest can speak yet. Go ahead and have
testing.
Yes,
we got him.
We got
Yeah,
him.
so I had to plug in a
Scribe lives.
webcam. I had to plug in a webcam I've never used before, so Streamlabs would actually recognize that I had a functioning mic. I don't understand it, but here I am.
That is crazy. Yes, chat. This was the reason why we had our technical difficulty. Scribe was actually here. He was here early, and we're having issues with hearing him. He could hear us, but we couldn't hear him. That was our whole ordeal the entire time. But hey, we're good. I'm happy you could be here, sir. Thank you for joining us, by the way. A pleasure to talk some Bond with you.
I gotta ask though, how to describe, but what gave you the idea to plug in a web camera to get your microphone?
Well,
to work?
I was
pretty good.
Well, I was trying to figure out, like, okay, and by the way, for those of you in the chat who are from my audience, and hello, guys, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time in 8 years of YouTubing I've ever had a webcam plugged in while I've been streaming. Mm-hmm. And only because apparently StreamYards, or Streamlabs, pardon me, in this instance, requires the detection of a webcam for it to recognize my microphone, which makes no sense, but that was the only thing that I hadn't tried at that point, because I could see my levels in the microphone in the Streamlabs test bench, and I could see it working in the browser, but you guys couldn't hear me. And I was like, what could I possibly do? I unplugged it, plugged it back in, nothing. And finally I thought, okay, well, the last ditch thing is that it says, we can't detect your webcam. Like, okay, I'll plug in a webcam and just keep the lens covered, and here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're hired for the Geek Squad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, process of elimination, I suppose.
And what's up, Putin's Cat? What's up, Emperor's NM? How's it going, dearest? Thank you all, gentlemen. Good to see all of you coming in and out for this one. Does Wolfen? What's up, Does Wolfen? Long time no see. Nice to see you here. So, yeah. And thank you, guys. I already see 12 of you on Rumble. Real Patriots Party, too, as well. Hell yeah. Welcome to this show here on Rumble. I have not seen you here before, but good to have you here. So, yeah, I guess we can get into the thick of it then.
I apologize for covering up that photo, but yeah.
I guess we can now get into the thick of it with this stream. So, okay, I'm going to have a very, very controversial take on the music of this movie. And not overall, but in the earlier aspects of some of these songs. I feel like, as far as an opener, this is one of the much weaker songs right off the bat. I know D Bud
Agree.
said he really liked it. Sorry, D Bud. Please don't come to Illinois and kill me. You already got people trying to do that to you in California. So, go take one of them, not me. This was, for me, it didn't see in its own isolation. I'd say it's a normal 80s, late 80s pop song. It doesn't feel Bond-like at all.
The opening hook is okay. Like by itself, the instrumental of the opening hook's fine. If you listen to the soundtrack minus the lyrics, it sounds okay. But yeah, aside from that, it's probably one of the weakest Bond theme songs of the era.
Yeah, the song, like, I'm listening just because, as I rewatch it, and I get to really evaluate the music, because that's something I like to talk about with these Bond movies, because I think I love how the Bond movies have made music very important, from the writer of it to the performer of it, and of course the obviously acknowledging the credits. It's great when they do that. I was like, this song feels so out of place, and I know some could probably make the argument for Live and Let Die song being a little Bond-like, un-Bond-like, but I still feel like that was closer to that one than this one was. This one just felt like it almost made it feel like it was like a completely different movie, especially with this darker, more serious tone. Maybe you could make once again another argument that maybe this song would have fitted better in a Roger Moore movie, but consider what we got going on with these Dalton movies, where they're down to the gritty aspect of Bond, and obviously Dalton was a fan of the books. I'd say the song doesn't fit the Dalton movies more so. Maybe Moore could get the pass with it.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I don't think the song "Nobody Does It Better" would work with Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing I love, and I think that's actually one of my favorite Bond songs of all the Bond movies. Nobody Does It Better is one of my favorite ones. I feel like that tune almost like was telling you right off the bat that no one does do it better. One of my favorite anthems.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't see it with the Dalton movie, to be fair, to be consistent. Yeah, I agree.
So I think the point to be made is that the Bond actor determines whether the Bond theme song is going to work well or not, because what would work for Roger Moore wouldn't work for Timothy Dalton. And that's part of what makes it difficult for, composing a Bond song, is figuring out, because you haven't seen, especially like for the first time the actor plays the role, and they ask you to compose a song for the Bond theme. How the hell do you figure out what that actor is going to be like as James Bond? So it's a challenge.
And a movie with this
much.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, a movie with this much action and darkness, it needed something edgier. It didn't need like some Shirley Bassey wannabe. I know Gladys Knight's a fine singer and everything, but it just didn't work for the overall theme. Again, in isolation, I like the opening hook as a Bond-ish kind of thing, but for this movie, yeah, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right. So, anyways, we got a super chat from ActionCom for $5. Thank you very kindly. It says Robert Davey said that the rubber pipe scene caused certain ladies with certain proclivities to contact him and ask for similar sessions.
Yeah, the spanking scene, that was nice.
Thank you for that $5. Well, you see, Kevin, too, the Bond movies were almost always like that. I mean, we had Nora Grace, who was a hugely involved part in A View to a Kill, and then was it in India and Octopussy? I mean, just those movies alone, we were having those things. These movies always were, and now of course, don't think about all the movies that are going all over the globe. It wasn't really up until A View to a Kill and this movie in particular, where it was a lot more heavy on the Americanizing aspect. And even then, even this movie takes a little bit of place in America. They deal with the Cuban, Colombian aspect of this movie, but there's Americanized parts of this movie, like A View. So it's definitely more American than the other ones for sure.
So this is right here is where. So I hadn't seen this movie since '89.
Oh
This
wow.
is this is one of the few Bond movies that I haven't watched more than once because honestly, I just to give a summary, I think it's one of the weaker Bond movies. But this moment right here is what kind of threw me as the story proceeded, because I was under the impression that when Sanchez looks back, hearing Bond hit his fuselage, that he saw Bond, and so later on when they meet, I was confused. Like, is he pretending not to know Bond for some reason, or that threw me off? Well, there's several plot holes, but that threw me off because later on I thought, how is it that he is unaware of who this guy is or how he relates to his whole revenge scheme? So that. I guess he didn't see Bond.
Never saw him, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, there was an implication when him looking back when he hit the plane that he saw somebody was hooking it up to it. Anyway, so that threw me off as I was watching it.
I did like seeing Bond go down though, and I like he had a great one liner that I
can you rephrase that, please?
Yeah.
Sorry,
who to go down on again? Was it Felix?
No,
Yeah,
when Bond
phraseology, Nick, I mean,
when Bond when he
you said you'd
he
like
hooked,
seeing Bond go down.
when Bond got on the hook and then he went down, and he said, hey, take me down, and I did like the execution of that scene, seeing him like trying to go to a plane and like being hung from a hook in the sky. I thought, like, imagine that's just your normal Tuesday afternoon. I had come down from a hook in the sky. If this string comes undone, I'm straight up dead. So I did love that aspect of it. I was like, holy damn, that is absolutely death-defying scary. So I thought that
And
part
Bond's,
of it was cool. And I can see where Strive is coming from. It does seem slightly off about that, considering that you could tell there's a friendship there, and he seems a bit confused. But seeing him do that whole sequence, damn, dude, damn.
I was also weirdly reminded of the beginning of Navy SEALs, because they too were like coming back from or going to a bachelor party, wedding or something, and then they suddenly had a mission they had to go off to. So in the middle of going off to a wedding, they suddenly have to go take down a drug dealer. It was also odd. It's like I can't recall, and I'm happy to be corrected. I can't recall that the character of Felix Leiter was ever a super action character. He was always sort of a helper to Bond. To see him running around with an assault rifle was really weird.
Yeah, he was more of a handler for the CIA than a field agent. Usually.
Q gets to kick ass in this movie too. Right?
And I love how like a few movies ago we had a big introduction for Dolph Lundgren, and we have now Benicio del Toro coming up. It wasn't his introduction, but it's definitely a name that is obviously a lot more noticeable in recent years compared to this time. And seeing him, I was like, holy baby face was he, man. Holy crud. And he's very distinct. You cannot mistake not just his name, but his appearance. Like, you're like, right away, that's Benicio del Toro. So yeah, Benicio coming on up for this one. Now, the opening credits from Maurice Binder. I think I'm good with the credits. I like the color. I like the muted colors. I feel like the muted colors fit the tonality of the movie more so than the music does. I do like the coloring of the opening credits. I think that definitely plays to its strengths more so.
Yeah, no, it works. Just the music is not as good. Some lovely ladies as usual, but it just doesn't catch me. I mean, the Aha song from the last movie is not great, but it seemed to fit a little bit better. Just maybe grew on you the more you heard it.
I kind of dug the Aha song.
Yeah,
I really did. I actually really thought that was a good, strong opener. That
sounded very bonding. Yeah,
I feel like that one did not get the proper credit that, in my strong opinion, it deserved. But yeah, the songs they're like, I feel like they're the type of songs you go to when you're like, if I lived in the A's, if I go to, like, let's just say a dance club with my girlfriend, I expect to hear these types of songs.
Okay.
from this movie, like the earlier Poppy says. Now the stuff that they get into later on in the movie, which is a lot more Bond theme, like the songs in the later half of the soundtrack are really strong. It's almost like two different movie soundtracks, but in one movie.
Do you see the? Do you notice there's so many Easter eggs in this movie of actors and things? So Robert Davi is being interrogated by the werewolf from Silver Bullet, but also the black DEA guy there. He and Robert Davi are the two guys that end up being the FBI agents in Die Hard in the helicopter when they're making jokes and stuff. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs in here. We'll probably get to them as we see them, but I recognize so many different actors and actresses. I'm like, I know you from this or that or the other.
Wow.
Big super chat, Nick.
Blade Nicotera, how you doing, dude? For 20, holy $20 super chat, that gets an accept clip. Woo! Thank you, Blade Nicotera, for $20. Says my favorite Bond movie. I like Davey. I like the song at the end. I love the song at the end. And good to hear it's your favorite. Makes me even more happy that we're doing this movie. But dude, thank you for a 20. That is gigantic. That is the best. Thank you. Go ahead.
The first actor I recognized from another movie was Felix Leiter here from Live and Let Die. And the second one was Everett McGill, who I remember from Heartbreak Ridge. He played the major that Clint Eastwood was in a constant battle with.
Yeah. And he was in People Under the Stairs. He's been all types of stuff. He's great.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't believe it. I mean, I've seen Heartbreak Ridge quite a few times. Probably 10 times. I can't believe I don't remember that. I'm sure I'll watch it back. Oh, hold on. No, I remember. Now, what I do like, of this movie is obviously you can tell where this story. I never read the Bond books. I don't know if a scribe you have, but from what I got,
a few.
Okay, from what I got, where the story is starting off with, it feels like it's James Bond at a point where he's a bit more seasoned and he's definitely done his time as a British Secret Service agent, and now he's getting to be able to see some of his colleagues celebrate some of their personal success. And obviously she was like, oh, did I say the wrong thing? He says like, oh, he was married once. I'm like, this feels like a Bond who is more so towards the later half of his career.
Well, it's one of the, and again, I'm happy to be corrected because I don't remember every line.
Oh, please correct me.
It's one. No. I'm just saying. I think it's one of the few Bond movies that acknowledges his wedding back in Majesty's Secret Service, because not many.
That's the only other one that did at the time.
Yeah. The Roger Moore films, I don't think ever flash back.
One other time they mentioned, it's just like an offhand line, though. It's not they never dwell on it.
Yeah, very briefly, but yeah. So to have that moment was kind of neat, but it also sort of because the Bond films have always been relatively episodic. They don't usually refer back to each other except for a couple of recurring villains and things.
Yeah.
So to have them acknowledge his, especially with a different actor,
Jaws, stuff like that.
Yeah. Obviously. So to have them refer back to his wedding like that and make it a little sad point was nice. Also, Priscilla Barnes. Damn, she's hot. But one of the problems I have with this, though, is that it's a different actor for Leiter than in the previous film. There was no, as far as I can recall, and I haven't seen Living Daylights in a long time. As far as I recall, there's no indication that Leiter was engaged or anything back in that one. So all of this happens so fast, it's very difficult to sort of get attached to these characters before everything falls apart right here.
Yeah, I mean, God, and wasn't Leiter just like Bond? Didn't he lose his wife on his wedding day too? I think that they both did.
Mm-hmm.
That's dude. That's a
and an arm and a leg,
deep cut, and because of the note. Which red shirt, perfect cue for you, sir, to talk about what's about to happen here with the leg and all. You this is all you, man.
Super chat. Alert.
Hold on. What happened now? What happened now?
Super chat from
Oh, Mr. Tickle Trunk for Canadian 5 says, it pleases me that a generous helping of scribe light is being spread over my favorite channels these days. Well, once I heard he knew his Bond, I was like, how could I not ask him?
I've never been a sandwich spread before, but I suppose I can try.
Well, I'm telling you right now that you are now officially Toxic Tuesday alumni, you are now in the realm of homoeroticism, and I can't guarantee that you're not gonna feel left, let's just say, untouched from the show.
There's no sense in going off half-cocked.
Oh my God, the cock.
You have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man.
Oh man,
You have officially been broken in.
Showdown in Little Tokyo, man, what a great film.
Oh, I know.
Tia Carrera, man, those were the days.
Yeah, this scene where they feed Felix Leiter to the sharks, and Bond having a shootout in the with the fish tanks in the tropical fish warehouse, and then finally Leiter being found all wrapped up and bloodied and injured. In fact, part of him is gone, with a note in his mouth that says he disagreed with something that ate him.
Yeah.
Is absolutely straight from the Ian Fleming novel Live and Let Die. And it's ironic that the same actor who played Felix Leiter in Live and Let Die had to wait 16 years to play this scene. Because it wasn't in Live and Let Die. They put it in here.
And I guess we can now say that would be considered another element that kind of technically carries over from another story, even though it's not from another movie directly, but from another story. So I guess that's another one of the I guess we could say that's a looser connective tissue right there.
Well, there are nods to the books. I mean, they have to go after him in the Bahamas, which is where, if I remember correctly, where Ian Fleming lived for many years. And that's why the Bahamas is featured in so many Bond films. So there's all kinds of little nods and references. This isn't, as far as I know, this is not based on any of the Bond novels directly.
Right.
So they added little Bond novel Easter eggs to the movie. You know, we're going to the Bahamas, or Felix Leiter is going to be chewed up by sharks and have a note in his mouth. That sort of thing. So it gives nods to Ian Fleming's novels. The title not from one of the novels, as I recall.
I got another. I couldn't help it. So I've been conditioned by so much TV and movies since then. I find all these narrative plot holes, and I got to point this one out.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that as soon as the super duper drug dealer crashes off a bridge and escapes, by the time we get to the next evening or the following evening, no one has alerted Felix Leiter that he's escaped, and they're just like, "Oh, we'll finish our honeymoon." Like, oh, come on. The news, the news would have gotten to them quicker. Yeah, the news would have gotten to them quicker than the media or anything. But still, I just like, come on.
I get it. You know, I know it's the 80s. I know not all information was so instantaneous. I mean, this is definitely a scene that would not work now. There'd be no excuses.
Yeah, there's no cell phones in '89.
In the cell phone
I
age.
know,
but I still feel like I could still why you would say that, Scribe. I mean, I feel like the information should have gotten to him, but especially, I mean, that was like such a big thing for them to have gotten the capturing. All of a sudden, they're like, "Hold on, what? He didn't get him? Like he didn't know?" And then obviously, you know, him and his wife get the guard dropped on them to a point where you could assume the worst happens to her, Death Wish style, and he, well, arguably has just as bad, except he has to live through his crap. And like, oh, come on, it was what was he said? About the shark leg, they're saying, "Oh, a chainsaw leg." I was like, "What?
He says,
about that chainsaw?"
Yeah, a doctor in the Bahamas is going to say chainsaw. What?
He said, "Chainsaw my ass. I know a shark bite when I see one."
Yeah, that's like chainsaw. And you know, and he's right. He's damn right about that. And was his bud really named Sharky? Because if so, I hope.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man. a chainsaw. Like it's no. Are you saying, Davina? Is that supposed to be like a nod to like the fact? Because I know obviously Tony Montana was this
Could be.
character in a few years before. Are you saying that it might be an indirect nod? I mean, I've never thought about Scarface. No, when I saw it, but I guess now you mentioned, now I can see why that would be a interpreted parallel per se.
All
On
right,
that.
I want to point out something. So it's nighttime here. Just want to say it's nighttime. Just I
Yeah,
couldn't help but notice this too.
I'm
Well,
listening.
that's one thing movies always
It's
do. They
not-
go day to night in like 2 seconds sometimes. too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They
Yeah,
they
yeah.
go. They infiltrate at night. He goes in there has a fight for 5 minutes and walks out, and it's noon the next day.
Yeah.
See, I'm good with that. I have no issue with that. I mean, I want them to get to a point, and it's a Bond movie. Bond movies by default are what, 2 hours by default. So for them to get to the point is super necessary.
Yeah, we
We
could
all
do.
done
You do have to
Scarface. No,
suspend
we have
a
not.
little
We have not done
disbelief, but yeah.
Scarface. Maybe we will in January. Maybe I think that's a good idea. Maybe January we'll do that one, because I will hint that we have a few Denzel flicks coming our way in January, and maybe we could throw a curveball and do Scarface as well. There's definitely some toxicity in Scarface. That is for freaking sure.
I don't know how much you could get away with showing stills of even on a show though. You be careful with that one.
We'll have to.
That creates a lot of
That might
extra
have to
work
be a
for me.
Rumble exclusive. That we'll see. But
We
that's
survived
just,
Porky's.
yeah, true. We did survive. Yeah, that's true. We did survive Porky's.
Oh,
Okay.
Mad made a
Another super
lot.
chat.
Mad
Holy
made a lot of
crud.
appearances for Porky's.
Okay, so we got our ards for a New Zealand, $5, and I think your avatar is really killer. It looks like I can't tell if they're
Cupcakes?
donuts. Are they drinks? A logo or something? Anyways, it says, love this film, partially due to Welsh Bond bias, but also the practical effects, especially explosions, are great. Very underrated. Cheers. Well, thank you for the New Zealand 5. Appreciate that. And yeah, I do actually like that there's a lot of great effects in this movie, and a lot of this movie, like, it looks really real. And we'll get to some of the aspects that I actually was questioning. It turns out it was legitimate shite. So we'll cross that bridge. But thank you again. Yeah, Electric Eel, man, bad business. You get in that thing, you gonna die. You're gonna die. But dude, this stuff is brutal with this movie. And
Yeah.
holy crap, like, obviously, I noticed that was another big change from the Moore movies. Obviously, with the humor and the dad jokes and the silliness, the going into space, the Jaws aspect. You had all these, like, hokey elements, which, for me, I still love. But man, they really upped the ante with the violence. So I decided to try to look into, what was, the incentive for, hey, we should really ratchet up the violence. And obviously not just because they had a change of tonality and also a change of Bond actor, but also it was at a time where a lot of violence-based movies was coming out. And so remember, this is 1989. That same year, you also had Batman, the 1989 one, and that was pretty brutal. Lethal Weapon was out at the time, brutal as well. So it was a very competitive year, and I think this is the first Bond movie that got the official PG-13 rating slapped on. And originally, though, when they first sent it to the MPAA, it actually had an R first before it got brought down to PG-13. Imagine that, an R-rated Bond.
Wow. Well, the shark scene's pretty brutal. I remember watching this in the movie theater. I mean, looking back on it, doesn't seem that bad, especially
Yeah.
considering what they show on TV. But people were really shocked. They're like, "Oh my god, they actually, had Felix Leiter lose a leg and an arm." Just the brutality of that scene. And Robert Davi is perfect as the villain of this. It's such a, as much as I like Roger Moore, it is such a total contrast. And they said that Bond was too comedic and in some ways, but this in the later Daniel Craig ones, I think that maybe they went too far, but the you could say that maybe that started here, and part of the political correctness had started then with the Bond women, in the 80s to remember, watching like Entertainment Tonight, and they're making a big deal about, who the Bond women are. They can't just be, pretty wallflowers. And so it's starting, but you don't really, they acknowledge it a little bit, but it doesn't, it's not message over substance, at least. So,
You're right.
this is a Hemingway house right here.
This is the
I've
Hemingway house.
Very cool with the 5-finger. Was it the 5-toed cats?
Double-toed cats. Yeah, the
double-toed cats. Yep. So
yeah,
very cool.
Part of the reason that this is a much grittier, more violent, action-oriented Bond is down to Timothy Dalton, who, as you said, Nick, was a fan of the books. And he thought that Roger Moore and Bond movies had gotten too far away from Ian Fleming's concept of Bond, who, would kill without compunction and slap women around and do all kinds of things that by now would have been, I mean, that we would have had feminists fainting in the aisles with the vapors if Timothy Dalton had played this as the way the books really were written. But Robert Davi provided that with the rubber flogger. So Bond didn't have to. But Dalton was instrumental in making making his two movies a lot edgier. And unfortunately, it was a whole scheduling snafu and with the studio that prevented him from doing a third movie.
Oh, and there's more to it, and there's even more to it. But yeah, that's definitely a symptom of the problem. And Davina, yeah, you are right. It's 1988, but around the late. Well, I meant to say, and it's my fault. I should have corrected myself then. It was just the mid to late 80s was a time where the ante was really being upped for violence in movies. And that was them trying to compete the same way that when Moonraker came out, they're like, oh, hey, we'll go for the Star Wars thing. And then obviously we've all kind of speculated that Octopussy may not have had a influence of trying to go after the Raiders of the Lost Ark type of crowd. So that is the gist we're going with there. And we got another $2 super chat from Action Come Again. Thank you. It says, fewer jokes in this time. Yeah, this one and Living Daylights, both of the movies. And also, too, I want to say another thing, too, and I didn't say it in the previous show. I wish I had. But both these two movies are a lot more stripped down and straightforward because the stories in the Moore movies were a lot bigger. A lot of them were really like big type of stories. These ones are really straightforward, a bit more personal. And even this one is even more personal because he, basically he loses his actual job and he has to operate outside of his job because his British government didn't have jurisdiction into certain territory. So Dalton's just like, okay, I'm going to take, matters in my own hands. So that's another big thing because as much as I love stuff like Octopussy, the story definitely does get a little big for people who, it might fly for the average normie's head. And yes, I just saw that an hour before tonight's show, and I'm like, how fitting.
Yep.
How freaking fitting. Anyways, yes. Oh, God, I just lost my train of thought here before I got on my tangent.
I'll jump in then. I think
please.
He really kicks a lot of ass in this movie. Dalton is Bond. He's in great shape, right? So
he runs.
Joke, he can run again. Yeah, and the underwater scenes and that opening scene with the plane. It's totally unbelievable, but you can believe James Bond doing it. And he looks like he's the kind of guy that can get it done. He's a naval commander and highly trained on underwater. In all facets of warfare. And this is just a kick-ass scene. I mean, with the guts it takes to go onto a boat like this with a bunch of drug dealers and infiltrate the boat, and just there's so many kick-ass scenes in this.
He's ballsy,
hardcore action.
Really ballsy in this movie. Even when he's got the gadgets, he's the baddest man in town. But when he doesn't have the gadgets, he says, "Okay, how can I use my knowledge and play stealth mode?" I love that. He is the best of both worlds with that. Go ahead, Redshirt.
There is
like you want to say.
Yeah. I'm going to say this movie in particular for Timothy Dalton playing Bond, and being so physical is it makes perfect sense in the making of Hot Fuzz, where oh, what's his name? The blonde actor, Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg is talking to camera, going, I'm shooting at James Bond in a car chase, and he's shooting back, and then I'm in a fist fight with him, and I'm winning. Timothy Dalton's like, what, almost 20 years older? Doesn't matter. This is James Bond.
It's still like, man, it's crazy. When we were mentioning last week that when Moore finished his time, by the time of View to a Kill came out, he was 57, and Dalton was like, what, 15 years younger? Like, what a jump! Or in this case, I guess, would you call it a step back, but yet a jump, because obviously Dalton's substantially younger. But man, what a wide gap in age between the two. Like,
yeah,
whew, man,
no, it's crazy. Yeah, and then this scene coming up too. My God, the ass kicking that Bond gives to all these henchmen, it's just phenomenal. And then the way that, it's coming up, but when he he comes up without a tank, and then he knocks the guy into the water and steals his tank. It's just like such quick thinking here too. So he takes his scuba gear and he's able to escape. Yeah, compliments to Sharky. I love that. Yeah, but he's smart enough and quick enough to know, like, like, what's he doing? He's crazy here. And then when you're watching it, like, oh no, he's got a plan. Bond has a plan. So that's what I love about this the action in this movie. It's kick-ass. The underwater scenes are great too, and Bond always has great underwater action. So
I like how adaptable he is, and not just like generally adaptable, but how impulsively quick he is as adapting. It's like as soon as something goes wrong, he adapts to it within a split second. It's like, oh crud, that's freaking like. So like, imagine you're in the thick of a fight, and when you got your drone cooking, like, it's hard sometimes to be logical because you're in such a rush of things going on. Your life is potentially on the line. This guy's just like, oh yeah, hold on, I got a smart way of handling this. Boom, got it.
Yep.
And I love seeing him do this. I was like, oh damn, this it made me want to do this scene where he's holding on. It's like, I was like, I want to do that. Come on, that looks fun. Probably dangerous, but it looks fun.
Right up until the moment you crash and burn at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. And the water ski. Oh yeah, the water skiing party, right? Yeah.
No, that's barefoot skiing.
Barefoot skiing, right? Yeah, true. Yep.
You have to be doing at least 50 or 60 miles an hour just to get on your feet, whereas you can water ski at like a third of that speed.
Okay.
And I've seen tourists try it. They get a bar off the side of the boat. And there are videos on YouTube of people trying to get up on their feet. You have to, you hang backwards, and then you flip around on your stomach, and you swing your legs around, and you try and get your feet under you. And for most people, it's not easy, because
water skiing's tough enough. I mean,
exactly. And this is at 3 times the speed you come up on water skis, and you watch people. And I got to say, when you hit the water, I've hit the water at 30 miles an hour on water skis, and it hurts.
It's like concrete, isn't it?
It's not quite, but at 60 miles an hour, it's getting damn close. And everybody face plants because their feet go out from under them. They lose their grip on the bar, and they go face first into the water. And I'm telling you, that is the world's worst belly flop.
I want to know how much cocaine got absorbed into Bond's skin when he's like breaking those packages underwater. I really think you could use this as a prequel for Cocaine Shark.
There you go. Contact high, right? Yeah.
Well, here's what you were talking about with, this isn't going well. I got 4 guys with scuba gear. They've cut my airline. I don't have fins. They do. I can't get away from them. And I've only got 1 spear in the spear gun. What am I going to do?
Kick
Shoot
their asses
the airplanes float.
Yep. Kick their asses, take their shit since they're trying to take my shit. And then I'm going to go claim the air and the water. Yeah. It's a hell of a comeback scene where you think he's like, this is the most like down he can get. He's got all the guys ganged up on him, and he just rebounds like crazy. This is like, oh damn, dude. Like, oh, I absolutely love. This is one of my favorite scenes. It definitely for sure.
And I love when the guy who lost all the money or all the drugs, whose Bond was tearing open the packages, tries to explain to Robert Davi's character, well, he did this, then he did this, then he got on the airplane, he took it over, and he killed both of the guys in the airplane, and he flew off. And Davi looks at him and goes, "And you expect me to believe that?"
Dude, okay. How much money got literally tossed away throughout this movie? Holy crap. Money was
I wish I was an extra.
Yeah, yeah, right. He just went and like, okay, hey, if you're let this money sink or I'll let it be wet. I want it. I still want it. Like, here,
I'll launder it.
Yeah, right. I'll shake it
Well,
off.
let's see.
Shake
There was
it off.
$2 million in the suitcase to Killfer or whatever, and then he had $4.5. Or he had $5 million that he took with him to the islands, and then used that to frame Crest. By the time that, so at least $7 or $8 million was just sort of thrown around by Bond in this one.
Oh God, yeah. And this time too, he has to do a lot of spending himself since he's not operating on behalf of the British government. Since he's basically a lone wolf technically on this mission, even though obviously that changes it a little later. Okay, we got a $1 Rumble rant from His Excellency Donald Trump for $1. Says, "Cocaine Shark, aka Hunter Biden."
Oh.
Thank you, President. Appreciate the Rumble rant, sir. Absolutely awesome of you for sending the rants my way. I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. So, even though these movies aren't as memorable for the one-liners, it makes up for it in a lot of big ways. Another notable thing, too, and this kind of lines up with one of the reasons why I made November the month of tradition for Bond. So, License to Kill was the last Bond movie to be released in the summer. After that, it became all about fall releases. And because when I grew up with Bond movies when I was a kid coming out, they were always coming out in the theaters. Outside of Skyfall, I think Skyfall is the only one in recent times that wasn't fall one. I think Skyfall is the only exception, but I was like, when I got the show going, I'm like, oh, you know what? I always saw new Bond movies in the fall. Why not make my Bond month in November? So that was kind of like the origin for why I chose November for the Bond month. So that's why we've been doing it for the Connery, the Moores, and now the Dalton. And now next year, the Brosnan. And yes, we will eventually some year do Never Say Never Again and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which I have only watched once in my life. I got a
best theme song. Best theme song, Majesty.
Really? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I think so. So.
Best, one of the best Bond girls ever.
I was wrong.
Definitely.
See, I thought that was the summer. Okay, I was wrong. It was. Oh no, you're right. Yep. No, Angry. So they have all been. So there wasn't an outlier. Dude, right? CD-ROM.
Yeah.
State of the art.
The star of this scene is the stripper because she never leaves her platform. No matter what's happening, she stays on her platform throughout the entire scene.
Yes.
Yeah, she gets mad. Someone knocks her off finally, right? And then she's like, "What are you doing? I'm trying to dance here."
Yeah, the scene also has one of the biggest plot holes in that Benicio del Toro's character is here, and then he disappears for the rest of the movie until the very end because he's the only guy who on site could identify Bond. So even though he was like the right-hand man of Sanchez at the beginning of this, somehow he just is absent from the story until the very end, which that bugged me, but I was like, okay. But it's like, I'm more with Benicio del Toro. It's like, come on, but no.
I just like to point out that I did not notice any plot holes in this scene because the stripper had great tracts of
coverage.
Tracts of land, yeah. The interesting thing is Carrie Lowell, our Bond girl here, she's wearing a wig because she came in with her hair already cut, and so later on they have to come up with a plot reason for her to go out and get her hair cut so she can come back with her hair not with a wig on, and she went out and get her hair done.
Look at that, guys. 2 beers for $3.50.
I know. That was nuts.
Wow.
Good old days.
Good
Good
old
yeah.
The
man.
prices in this. Every time they brought up prices of anything, I was just like, really?
Despite
Oh,
inflation, you're getting about maybe a tablespoon's worth of a beer.
Yeah.
Well, back when I was in high school around
For
this
$3.50.
time. Yeah.
You get 2 shots. For
Two
that
shots
money
of
now,
beer.
you get 2 shots of beer.
Yeah.
So you only see him briefly in that still there, but I forget the guy's name, but he was in Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas as his best friend, the
Okay.
Indian guy. There's a lot of cameos in this thing of people.
Oh, I should have put Mad's face on the stripper. Damn.
That would
come
have
on,
been hilarious. But yeah, Action Comp, I thought about this. I'm like, hold on. This scene has now been going on for a few minutes with the battle royale at the bar, and she's still dancing.
Yep.
And then I thought about it, I was watching because I'm laughing because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. And it's great. And now all of a sudden, Ash goes like, for the stripper, this is just Thursday. And you know what? He's got a point because we're in an area where, well, there's all these types of sketchy personalities. She's probably like, oh, I've seen this stuff before. It'll sell down in a few minutes. And lo and behold, it doesn't because obviously we get a hole in the wall, a literal hole in the wall. So yeah,
except the only thing that was driving me crazy was she starts to fight with the shotgun, right? So she's shooting the shotgun. It's like it's not just a bar fight. She's got a shotgun and the stripper just keeps going. So I guess she's used to gunfire in here too. I don't know, but you see a gun, in a bar fight, it's time to leave usually, right?
She's like a professional sumo wrestler. She never leaves her circle. It's great.
Okay. We just got handed I think a meme from a Hank Ronson. I'm going to share this because this definitely bears worth sharing because it is relevant to our movie tonight. Xmas and Ithmith.
Oh, Ithmith.
Yeah, Ithmith. Because he's got the voice. So I get what you're going for, man. I get it. Thank you, Mr. Hank Rodson. I do appreciate it. Definitely want to share that on screen in case you are. Seems like you are watching. You must be one of the lurkers. Oh, hold up. Right here. Xmas and Ithmith. Right there. Thank you. All right, let's get you up again, Mark.
Oh, it's
whoa! Look at the timing of that from Del Toro's face to that. Come on, you had Del Toro with the creepy smile, and then
creepy Del Toro smile, yeah. And then go to that, yeah.
Wow. You got great timing there, sir. Very.
Thank you.
Pause. Got bad for Mr. Tickle Trunk is being
pause,
a toxic.
back.
He's being a toxic man.
Yeah.
Very toxic.
I work on my timing. Yep.
Oh, I it shows. You got really good skill. Your ass would have been nailed to the wall. I like how her some of her most important parts of her arguments are based off of, well, I have to be in charge type of arguments. Say, why can't I have this? Why can't I have that? I'm like, lady, let go. And that was the sign of, uh-oh. So we're going to have some issues here. Like, man, if this scene came out nowadays, it would be a hint that this movie's going to get really on the nose. This is kind of like, well, you got to understand, we're in a country where man's world still rules, so you better roll with it. Otherwise, we ain't going to survive. Whereas today's Bond girl would not listen, and she would end up getting killed. And as she would get shot and killed, she was like, at least we were inclusive. They would. At least she listens. I'll give her credit for that. She realized that how her attitude is not going to fly where she's at. So she had to Pam had to put her shit aside.
Yep.
Yeah.
And fuck, of course. And fuck. And the first one to fuck Bond in the movie.
Where did that happen?
Yeah, this is one of the few Bond movies where neither of the women end up being like a complete betrayer or end up getting killed.
I always assumed
Usually in the Bond films, if you get one or two women, like one's got to die, one is a betrayer, and the other one turns out to be the love interest by the end or something. But in this instance, they're both like on his side. They never really turn their back on him, or I mean, it's hinted or suggested that she is at some point, but then doesn't.
Richard, you say where? I feel like that scene was trying to hint that that's where they go, but you don't actually, see like the aftermath of it. Usually you see the aftermath, Bond's laying on the bed with so and so, gets up, gets to. I feel like that was just kind of hinting at that. And I do know because obviously, then there's the other girl later. I'm already forgetting her name, but one of the reasons that they kept it down low for the ladies for this movie had actually nothing to do with Bond toxicity. It's more so that we had a certain AIDS thing going on, and everyone has AIDS. AIDS. That was the real reason for the season.
Yes. And I think that and the very, very, very beginnings of political correctness. I mean, feminism was definitely around in the 70s and was evolving into what we see today. So I'd say you're right. I'd say part of it is the epidemic of STDs that they couldn't cure, and the other one was I think the feminists started to they just decided why do we want to piss these people off and have to argue with them all the time. Yeah. So they decided to make it more suggestive than explicit.
So I wanted to lay out another thing. Caroline Bliss, what we see in her, this is it for her as Ms. Moneypenny. She had a little bit more to do in The Living Daylights. Like Bond was actually kind of going to her for some questions and some assistance. This here, she barely speaks. She's seen, and then that's kind of it for Caroline Bliss. And then that's it for her time as Ms. Moneypenny. It's like, wow, very short-lived era. And this movie, in a way, was the end of an era for many people who were involved with Bond movies because he wasn't the only. She wasn't the only one who was done with Bond at that. A lot of people were done. Maurice Binder was done. Obviously, she was done. Timothy Dalton was done. Albert Broccoli was done. So this movie was like, whoa, that explains why there was a 6-year gap between the movies. I mean, you guys grew up at that time. What was that like to have 6 whole years without a Bond movie?
It was weird. It really was.
Yeah. It probably felt like ritual, right?
Yeah, it was. It was like that. Well, every couple of years you're going to get a Bond movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine what that's like. And obviously this movie had a lot of stiff competition at the time, having, everything it was competing against. And it didn't necessarily bomb, but definitely did not perform not only as well as movies of 1989, but also compared to other Bond movies, even though there is a lot of appreciation, a lot more fondness for this movie by others now compared to them. But maybe do you guys what was it like for Bond going up against stuff like Batman at the time? One of you guys can add to that, because obviously I was only 2 when it came out.
Well, Bond was always that franchise that always pulled in big box office, but the problem is it's over and over, and then you're switching to Timothy Dalton, and it's tough to compete, right? So but of course you always usually you got a good movie every 2 years, as opposed to something like Star Wars, which has turned into a disaster. So, it's just it's got longevity, I think, because the character is just so well done and so well written. I'm not a fan of the newer Bond movies, which you guys know, but
what a shock!
Royale. Yeah, what a shock.
There was also contrast in what was becoming of the action hero at that point, because like just a year before this, you had Die Hard. We had basically a blue collar guy becoming the hero, and so having a high class British whatever was I think a tougher sell after that as far as popularity and being able to compete.
Good point.
Good point, Scribe. That makes sense, because Bond has a classy way of killing his enemies versus someone like Rambo. He just goes on a massive onslaught, and he's kind of reckless about it. Bond's about clean precision.
Yeah, not the muscle bound, 80s American, Schwarzenegger. Yeah, it's Stallone, action hero. So
Yeah, and plus,
but
also, I think if I'm not mistaken, this is the last Bond film before the fall of the Soviet Union. So Bond lost a
yep,
lot of his best bad guys when the commies went away.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, for
And this doesn't really even involve the Soviets.
No Cold War stuff at all, really. I mean,
The last one
now
Cold
did.
War's gone.
the
Yeah,
closest you get is the sidewise involvement of China in this. And I just wanted to point out. Oh, sorry, I'll wait.
No, go ahead, take it. No, finish your
Oh, I was going
comment.
to say
and then
another
I'll
Easter egg thing here is that the secret Hong Kong guy, Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa, he plays Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat, and Lupe here is Katana. So they were.
So that was. I knew I recognized him. I never looked into it, but I'm like, I recognize him from somewhere. I freaking knew it. Hot damn. Okay. Action Com for $10. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Feel like Woody Woodpecker now. I said that in Toxic Tuesday. Take a good look at the henchmen Sanchez surrounds himself with. They don't look like former army or spies. They look more like thugs Sanchez grew up with, as if he brought them along due to loyalty. That's honestly kind of what I always got. I didn't honestly thought of seeing them as like army guys. They look to me just more like guys that, hey, I know you, you know me, you basically have worked for me. We have default loyalty and respect. That's what I've always gotten out of Action Com. So yeah, I could definitely see where you're getting at with it there. And we got a $2 Rumble rant from His Excellency Donald Trump. He says, if Daniel Craig had made another Bond, I guarantee he would have requested a scene where he was pegged. Whether that would be with a dildo or a fleshlight, I don't know. But I could probably guess.
I'm not going near that one.
I definitely will not. But thank you for the Rumble rant, President. Man, Dalton with the slick back hair. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I think it was Red Shirt was going to say something.
Yeah.
Was it Red Shirt? Yeah.
Yeah. Up till this point, and I'd argue even through Pierce Brosnan's tenure as Bond, the Bond franchise is still a guy franchise, especially a young guys franchise.
Yep.
Yes.
And Daniel Craig, with the exception of Casino Royale, it became a middle-aged woman's franchise. And Mrs. Redshirt's going to kill me if she listens to this stream because I said that.
Yes, because she's only 29. She's not middle-aged.
Right. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I did not care for any of. I mean, again, with the minor exception of Casino Royale, and only because Mads Mikkelsen basically saved that flick for me. I did not care for the blonde Bond. I really didn't.
The blonde. See, I forgive the blonde Bond if there is no stuff to like, but sadness, soyness,
Sam Smith,
no gadgets.
Yeah, but it's precisely that sensitivity that appeals to women and not to men.
I don't even know that that's true. I think women think that sensitivity appeals to women, but decisiveness, assertiveness, take control is more appealing. But that's some like soy boys interpretation of what James Bond should be and how to like placate women. When I think no.
I'm just saying my experience with women of a certain age is that they really like Daniel Craig's Bond.
All right.
And it's not because somebody told them they were supposed to, who was a coffee shop metrosexual. No, they actually do prefer that because they don't like all of this sexist stuff that's been in Bond for so long. And of course it's been getting less and less and less and less from the Connery days.
Yeah.
And even Sean Connery's Bond isn't as sexist as the James Bond of the books.
Sure. Oh yeah. No, they toned it down for the film, certainly.
Yes.
Even if only marginally so in the earlier Bond films, but yeah.
but it's still toned down.
Okay,
Yeah.
now here's a question. Why throughout the film, why bother disguising this thing as a camera? It's never used in any other scene except as a gun. And when he pulls it out, it's in a sniper rifle case. So
Yes.
there's absolutely no point of disguising it as a camera.
I was wondering what the exact same thing as I'm watching it. You know,
The whole thing, the toothpaste, the whole 9 yards. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, unless they needed a scene where you had to like sneak the gun in to wherever you were going. But you're right; they've never got a problem with.
And the Polaroid camera never comes up again. I thought for sure that he was going to use that laser beam to cut open the window or do something else later, but it never comes up.
No, now they're going to get cancer for the X-rays.
There you go.
Yeah. And by the way, this is the largest part Desmond Llewellyn ever had in one of the Bond movies.
Oh yeah, he does the most in this than any other movie.
And he also said in an interview after the movie it was the only Bond film he made any significant money from.
Oh yeah.
Every other Bond film, he's got like 1 day's worth of shooting and he's done.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, is that because of just the size of the role? They paid him more?
Yes.
Or,
I think so.
Because usually in all the other films, he's like in a room in one scene with Bond, hands him his gadgets.
One
and then
day,
he's gone.
probably.
Yeah.
I like that they gave him a role because I remember like when I was a kid and thinking, oh man, I really like that Q guy. It'd be nice if he was in the movie for more than 2 minutes. And then when I finally got around to this movie, sometime during my teenage years, I was like, oh, so he did give at least one movie where he had a significant part. And for me, I was happy to see. But I love the introduction of him. Your uncle's at the room.
If anybody needed a prequel movie, it was Llewellyn's Q. Like, what was this guy doing before he became the elderly gadget master? And I like there's like a Pennyworth prequel series or I don't know. There's just like
there's a Pennyworth,
And I like the fact that because Dalton has quote unquote resigned, that Bond has quote unquote resigned and is completely on his own. Q in the man who normally gets pissed off at him for destroying all the gadgets basically gets permission from M to take leave, fills a suitcase with gadgets and brings it out to Bond.
Yep.
Because as he says, you're going to need all the help you can get.
It's kind of like an under the table. Hey, he knows he's going to help Bond, right? So
there was a toxic moment when he's coming down the wall. What does he put his hand on when he first hits the wall?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I missed it, unfortunately. Yeah.
You missed that?
I mean, I missed clipping it.
Clipping. Okay.
Oh,
I didn't miss it.
Mark, I can forgive that.
I'm not going to see. Who's not going to notice boobs? I mean, come on.
Exactly. Even if they're carved out of stone.
That's as explicit as they could get with sexuality in this film because of AIDS.
Yes, pretty much.
Everyone has it. Well, that's why anytime you say, Mark, totally, no, that totally not on accident. Mark.
I gotta say, Carrie Lowell is one of the best looking Bond girls. I don't know if she's the best Bond girl overall as a character, but she's gorgeous.
She is. That's funny you mentioned that, Scribe. I'll bounce off your thought because when she was going into casting for this movie, she said she took her some time to adapt to being in the whole classy outfits for being a Bond girl because she's more of like a t-shirt and jeans type and not someone who goes out looking stylish and fancy at the dinner table. She's never been one to do it, so she said it took some getting used to for her, but once again, it shows you a point in time where actors and actresses were literally committed to their roles.
Well, she filled out those dresses just fine by me.
Well, I don't think I mentioned this earlier. I think I might have mentioned it backstage, but Carrie Lowell, before she became an actress, was a high fashion model in high demand in New York from the top fashion designers in the world. So the problem I think she had was that when she was wearing first of all, she wasn't wearing an attractive dress. She was wearing a fashion dress on a runway, which even back then looked like ass. And it was her job. And she didn't normally dress up because that was her job. This is her life. And so she wasn't used to wearing them and being herself. She was used to wearing a fancy dress and being a runway model.
Yeah, she's a living mannequin basically, but then she had to
Basically,
have
yes,
it, express her personality and move around and stuff. And
exactly.
And her dad, I was
Yeah,
just reading, her father was a distinguished geologist who was voted Scientist of the Year in 1979. Oh, wow. So she could have played Dr. Christmas Jones then, probably.
There you go.
Oh, wish she had.
I forgot there's another individual who was working on these Bond movies, and once I got another end of an era type. John Glenn, the director. This was his 5th straight Bond movie. I'm trying to think who was the guy before him who had a record before him. Something Hamilton, who did 4 movies. I can't believe it. The names I'm missing, but I think it was one of the guys who did the Connery days. Did 4 movies. John Glenn had him beat by doing the 2 Dodd movies, and then For Your Eyes, Octopussy, and View to Kill with John Glenn. So that's another, like, man, it was like once everyone left, everyone jumped ship. Like, it was just no one was off limits from the directors to the people who worked on the credits. So yeah, John Glenn. Thank you, Tway. Guy Hamilton. I knew it was at the tip of my tongue. Guy Hamilton did 4 movies. I remember the count. I can't remember specifically all 4 of the movies, but I remember it was 4 movies.
And then suddenly ninjas, even though they're Chinese. But hey, whatever.
No, I am with you there. That part made no damn sense.
I was like, wait a second. I mean, as we find out later, it's like, Hong Kong police or something. Like, why were you guys being ninjas then? Okay. I mean, well, they're just Asian, I guess. Like, what? No. Bond went to Japan. He learned how to become a ninja. He got his eyes surgically altered. Come on. He became Japanese. He got a Japanese wife, and then he got Chinese ninjas. Like, oh, man. There's another nerd cameo coming up here in a second. We'll see if we get his face on here.
Because I don't know the nerd cameo.
Yeah, so there we got our Chinese police officers, spies, or whatever, who've captured him, and Shang Tsung's got his super camera gun.
Oh,
and then
I guess that's the only reason the gun is there, is just to show the fingerprint ID or the ID. I guess.
Here he is. It's Gerry from Dark Forces 2, the Dark Jedi.
Oh.
If you played Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, that's the I forget his name off the top of my head. That's the guy that plays the blind Dark Jedi Gerry.
Okay.
I love that game. That game is incredible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, I have not played it, but I believe you. You're calling out the cameos good. By the way, chat. Let's see what time it is. Okay, we're an hour and 12 into the show. About 12, 13 minutes. We are going to transition over to Rumble exclusively. So we highly encourage you to transition with us soon. So just to butter you all up, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Keep it, right-click that tab, have it as an open separate tab. So when we all transition together, well, we'll all do it at the same time. So
that sounds like a euphemism for something. But anyways, you're a trans streamer?
Yeah, he is now. There is one other bit from the books. The movies never did this. Bond, pretty much from the beginning, carries a Walther PPK.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In the books, he starts through Live and Let Die. He carries a Beretta 25, and if you see the book covers where he's got his arms crossed and his right arm is over his left shoulder, and he's got this long-barreled, he's got this little gun with a long silencer on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a Beretta 25. And a Beretta 25 is not much more dangerous than a firecracker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the scene where he has the gunfight in the tropical fish warehouse where Leiter has been fed to the sharks, and he doesn't shoot anybody. He misses everybody. That when he gets back to London, he's given an ultimatum by M. We're replacing your Beretta 25, and he calls the armorer in, who has this velvet pillow with 3 guns on it. And one of them is the Walther PPK, and Bond looks at the 3 guns and chooses the Walther. So in the books, Bond doesn't carry the Walther until after Live and Let Die.
Okay.
Wow. Hot dog, dude. I learned something new today. As he wakes up in the comfort of a bed he does not recognize.
Yeah. And Manfred.
We got Joe's Atmosphere for $4.99. What's up, Joe? It's been a long time. Says, Hail Brothers. Would love to have been on the panel for this one. Unfortunately, I dislocated my shoulder this morning. Couldn't reach Nick. Dude, that sucks, man.
Ow.
Sorry.
Hey, I literally know what that's like to have that happen, because I had many moons back. I had my socket. Usually, you know how they go over to the side. My first time it was fall over to the side. Another time I did a stage dive off a stage, literally, at a show in 2014, and the crowd accidentally missed me, and I dropped straight on the ground, popped my shoulder out of place, and I had to leave the show. Security, was checking on me, and I actually got it back in place. It hurt like a bastard, and I didn't know if I was even going to do it right, but I took a chance because I wanted to go back and watch a show. Security said I could go in. I just couldn't do any more stuff. I said, that's fine. No arguments there. They thought the security guy was like, dude, you're absolutely nuts. Like, they actually just attempted that. I'm like, it was probably a fluke. By some miracle, I have not had my shoulder messed with to this day. But yeah, that was a very chancy move to do that in Baltimore after a stage dive that went horribly, horribly wrong. But thank you for $4.99, sir. Man, you guys brought me almost like $50 today. Thank you guys for that. And that's just on the YouTube side alone. Thank you guys very much for that. Let's see here. How did you know that? Look at those guys. Ooh, I see. I think they're shipping right now. I think I see shipping in the making with these two. What's Lupe doing? And then, and this is where he gets with Lupe, and it gets Pam jealous. It gets her very jealous. Oh boy, did she get spiteful later on? Yes, the capital is real. Nice to see you, Paulie.
Hey, Paulie.
Long time no see since I seen you around these parts. I did love her setup that she did to help out Bond, though. I thought that was really funny. It was one of the few lighter moments. So, no, it's really crazy how when they had the lighter moments are really sparse. It's like, oh, crud, back to the seriousness. So yeah, it's nothing that kind of dwells and sits. You just gotta comes and goes. And he's kind of like, she just came and went. My boss is gonna kill me. Well, bitch, your boss is gonna kill you. So yeah,
That's a great getaway here. I love that getaway. Just that's so smart. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I looked into the numbers for License to Kill because I was curious, like, how bad was it, like box office numbers wise? And when I looked at the numbers, I'm like, apparently this was considered very low. Oh shit! I gotta refresh it because my thing crapped out on me. All right, I got it up. So let's take a look at these numbers. Let's look at the facts as we continue to let this. All right, so this movie at the time did 34 million, which adjusted for inflation is 93 million today. Right here. Domestic 34 million, adjusted for inflation, highlight in gray, 93 million. Wow, that's weird to imagine.
That's low.
Bond movie that doesn't do 100 million nowadays. That's scary to believe.
What did they give it worldwide? Was it they have a foreign box?
Well, at the time, yeah. At the time, it made 121. So my guess is that would probably be, what do you think, 200, 300 nowadays?
Let's see. Well,
I don't have a translator for that, but go ahead and take that part from here. But let's see if they actually have some box office numbers on the legs. There's no daily.
I've seen a graph of like all the Bond movies somewhere, like together, like all the revenues lined up. So, but yeah, probably that was probably one of the reasons too, not to continue with Dalton.
No,
too.
no, yeah, no, you're good. It looks like it had decent legs. I wouldn't say it had like long standing, but it had decent legs. So, but just not what could have been with this movie. Yeah, oh yeah, no, that's a big one. When you look at the competition, the movie's number 37th in the 1980 Bond. Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things where most movies would kill for that, but for Bond, that's considered not good. And I know a lot of them consider this movie to be a failure in that regard.
Yeah, because License to Kill was 34 domestic, Living Daylights was 51. So that's only 2 years. 2 years later, I'm like, they have Box Office Mojo has all the Bond movies lined up together.
You notice too how when we had Dalton as Bond and Living Daylights, there was a lot of moments where he almost had like the really cheesy smile. And this movie, he is straight up stone cold, almost pissed off the entire movie. Like what a wild change in attitude, but I love it because even though he was serious in the movie, you could still tell he was having moments of cherishing being Bond, soaking it in, marinating in it. And this one, he's just all in on the attitude. I was just like, holy crap!
Well, this time it's personal. His friend had his leg bitten off, so he's angry. Like, I want revenge.
And his wife killed too. So
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what this movie is so brutal. I think that works with the tone of what's happened. Here's that toxic moment. I'm his secretary. Yeah.
All yours, sir.
Yeah,
ma'am.
Yeah.
So okay, I found a piece. I of course I stole from IMDb, and before we transition over to Rumble exclusive, I want to highlight this because this is very notable. This is something spoken from Desmond before he passed on. He said License to Kill, I think, was a very good movie, but what the Americans said is quite true. It wasn't a Bond film. It lost all its fancy. I do disagree with him on that, but that's not going to be my big takeaway from it, even though I greatly disagree with it. My big takeaway from it is I wish he were alive to this day to see if he would take those comments back now, considering what we've gotten out of Daniel Craig's movies.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be like, okay, maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe you could say it was less like that compared to the other movies, sure. But to me, I still saw this as an absolute Bond movie. I mean, he had still the insane stunts. Yeah, sure, he didn't have as many gadgets as the Living Daylights, but they were still there. They're just a little less prominent. Yeah. But he was relying on a lot of creative stuff, and he was still making with his whole environment around him. So to me, it was still all very Bond-like. So to me, that still makes it a Bond movie. And also his attitude. He still acted like a James Bond.
I think the biggest departure is just the villain is not... he's a drug dealer. And that seems a bit, even though he's like this super duper super villain drug dealer. At the same time, I think that feels like a departure from most of Bond's other villains who had more either world domination type plots in mind or something more governmental or espionage ish. Whereas this is, it's a very 80s villain. Let's put it that way.
Yes, but I have to say that this, as far as Bond stories go, I'm going to go back to the books again. Mm-hmm. It's one of my least favorite books. Casino Royale is my other least favorite book. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. But The Spy Who Loved Me as a book, James Bond only appears in like the last chapter or two. It's about a woman who shows up at a small motel, roadside motel in upstate New York, and runs afoul of two very, very sick individuals who essentially kidnap and abuse her and do all sorts of terrible things to her. And she's wondering how she's going to get away from them when a car pulls up and, the office apparently is dark because these two guys have probably eliminated. This is a long time ago. At any rate, James Bond encounters these two guys and the woman, and he kills them and rescues her. Because it's a mission, it's just he happened to pull into the motel to spend the night. But when he realizes what's going on, he takes them out and rescues her. And that's the basic story of The Spy Who Loved Me as a book. And it's a purely personal thing with Bond in that story. So it's not unprecedented, even from Ian Fleming, that Bond would do a side mission just because it was the right thing to do. And that's what this movie is. And I think a lot of people who didn't like this movie hadn't read the books. So they didn't know that Bond would occasionally just take something personally and go after them.
All right. We got a $5 Rumble rant. Thank you. From BPST. Welcome to the show. I'm not seeing you around here. If you're a different name from YouTube, I'll clear that up. Assuming that you are new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. I said we'll have made $397 million today, which that would be considered, sadly, still under for Bond. But yeah, definitely in its own right, still fairly good. I want to say before we transition, last part, that guy got his head blown up. He looked like a damn balloon, brutally, dude. That was the matter of splatter unleashed over that window. I was like, holy damn! Like when I saw it happen, I was like, bro, I can see why originally the MPA, especially at this time, were almost kind of like a little bit more sensitive to things, where things had a easier R rating slapped on. Man, for Bond, this really definitely kicked it up a notch.
I think only the bad guy from Live and Let Die was the only other one to expand into oblivion in a Bond movie.
We have that clip somewhere. I don't have it accessible now, but yeah.
Yaphet Kotto, Mr. Big, became even bigger.
Yep. He ate too much Viagra.
All right, chat. It has been good. It has been great. It's been real. We're going to continue carrying on the show exclusively on the Rumble side. So we're going to wrap this up in less than 1 minute. So right here, let me post this in the comments. Come transition with us, please. We're doing it. We are doing it. And I want you to transition with us all. It's going to be great. We already got a lot of you piling up in there. Already 24 of you in there on Rumble. Let's get those comments rolling. Let's get everyone rolling. And let's get Pam very jealous that he's learning about, oh, hey, look who walked out. There's that stare down. It's all right. He's with me. She looks like Rachel Zegler if Rachel Zegler wasn't a snotty bitch. Straight up. All right, take care, Tway. All right, guys, this is the part where we call it a night. Thank you for watching us on YouTube, but we're going to be on Rumble exclusively starting now.